Thank you for joining us this morning. Congratulations on your victory last night. You think you have this nomination in hand?
No, not at all. I mean, look, I'm dealing with very talented people, very smart people, great politicians, and Ben Carson's still in, I understand, and he's a terrific guy and a talented guy. So, you know, I'm dealing with very smart people, talented people, so I never take it for granted.
You said last night we go back to war tomorrow morning. So who's your toughest competition right now, Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz?
I think they're both tough. I think they're all tough. I mean, everybody in this is tough. They're all very accomplished people. But I would say this. I was hit very, very hard yesterday by Ted because he did 2 robocalls, one on the Confederate flag, which was, you know, very tough and unfair, and one on, I guess, gay marriage. And one came on at 9 o'clock in the morning in Election Day. This is something I didn't anticipate. And one came on about 12 o'clock. In the afternoon during the election. So I said to myself, wow, this is a tough business. These people are worse than Manhattan real estate developers. This is rough stuff, politics. And I thought that really that maybe they would have a bigger effect than they did. You know, I didn't know I was going to win by that much. And we won by a lot. You know, we won every congressional district, also got every single delegate. So that was sort of record-setting stuff. But they really hit me hard with negative ads.
You're hitting them pretty hard as well. You actually sent out a retweet yesterday suggesting that Marco Rubio might be ineligible to be president, a tweet that said both Cruz and Rubio are ineligible to be POTUS. Do you really believe that?
I think the lawyers have to determine it. It was a retweet, not so much with Marco. I'm not really that familiar with Marco's circumstance.
But then why retweet it?
Ted has a problem, but I think that because I'm not sure. I mean, let people make their own determination. I know Ted is being now, I think he's being sued by somebody, having nothing to do with me, by the way, is being sued by somebody, maybe it's in New York, having to do with eligibility.
You're really not sure that Marco Rubio is eligible to run for president? You're really not sure?
I don't know. I've never looked at it, George. Honestly, I've never looked at it. Somebody said he's not, and I retweeted it. I have 14 million people between Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and I retweet things, and we start dialogue, and it's very interesting. And maybe that's why I have 14 million people, and others have 200 people.
Do you think as you get on this path to the nomination, you're the clear front runner right now? As we said, you're in command of this race. You're going to have to be more careful about the kind of things you say and tweet?
Well, I didn't know I was going to win by so much yesterday. You didn't either. I mean, nobody thought I was going to win by that much. That was bigger than the polls. You know, the polls were saying I'd win by 3 or 4 points, and I won by more than 10 points, and that was a lot. They were saying that I'd get some of the congressional districts, but certainly not all of them, and I got all of them. So I had no idea I was going to win by that much. Certainly after the robocalls, I never figured I was going to win by that much.
Think the Republican establishment might close ranks right now and really try to come down hard on you and block you from this nomination? And if they do, is it still possible that you would run as an independent in the general election?
No, I don't think that's much of a possibility. I don't think I'm being treated fairly by the RNC because every time I walk into a debate, you know, I'm self-funding my campaign, so I'm not getting money from special interests and, you know, the big drug companies, et cetera, whereas everybody else is. Everybody on both sides, but everybody else is. And I walk in, and they have all special interest lobbyists and donors sitting in the room. And I don't have any donors. I don't have any special interests. I don't have any lobbyists. So I walk in, it's like dead silence, except for my wife and kids. And these guys walk in and they say something that is stupid or not even good, and they get standing ovations every time they open their mouth. It's very unfair in terms of the debates, I think. And I think I had my best debate last time. Some people don't. Some people think the New York values debate was better. But I thought I had my best debate. I was really being hit from all sides. But it's very unfair when a room is so stacked.
So if you win, is it a hostile takeover of the GOP?
No, not at all. You know, I was a member of the establishment of the GOP. I say proudly. I gave $350,000 to the Republican Governors Association, you know, before the June 15th, before I ran, before June 16th. And I gave tremendous amounts of money to people in the Republican Party. I gave to everybody, and I was very establishment. And then once I ran, they said, well, wait a minute, what's going on? That's not supposed to happen, because he doesn't need our money. And, you know, they like to control the people. They like to control the senators and the congressmen, and so that when they go for military awards and when they go for pharmaceutical awards, they make sure they get it. And I'm going to do what's right for the country. You know, as a self-funder, I'm the only one. And as a self-funder, I'm going to do what's right. So, you know, that in that way, it's certainly different. But ultimately, that's going to be good for the party because we're going to win the election. You know, two polls came out recently where I beat Hillary Clinton and I beat Bernie Sanders. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to be the problem. I think Hillary will be the one that I'm competing against unless she has legal problems, which will be determined.
Finally, Mr. Trump, you told me several months ago you'd be releasing your tax returns. And the Wall Street Journal editorial page came out yesterday and said Mr. Trump should release his returns going back at least a decade before Super Tuesday on March 1st so Republican voters can know what they're voting for. If Mr. Trump's tax records are as very beautiful as he says, he should be eager to release them for public scrutiny. Will you release them by Super Tuesday? Don't Republican voters have a right to know?
Well, first of all, no, I won't. No, I won't. I'm working on them. We're working on them. They're massive. You saw pictures of me. But let me tell you about the Wall Street Journal. I have no respect whatsoever for the Wall Street Journal. I don't think they know what they're doing. They have taken me on so much. It's so ridiculous. Every day, editorials, bad editorials. And they had a poll come out, which was so wrong. I said they should fire their pollster and they should fire their editorial staff because I think these are people that don't know what they're doing. I don't even want to read it very much anymore. They're so wrong. But if you look at their polls that they came out with 1 day and 2 days, 2 polls before the election, they turned out to be so wrong that they should, honestly, they should fire their pollster. So I don't care what the Wall Street Journal says. What they say doesn't, in fact, if anything, I would do the opposite because that'll turn out to be more correct.
So no release before you're a nominee?
No, at some point, we're going to talk about it. At some point, we'll release. There's no rush. Why is there such a rush? I'm supposed to rush like crazy? By the way, I released my financial statements, which are much more important. I released my financial statements, and everybody was amazed at how big and how great the company is, much bigger than they thought, and it's a great company, very little debt, tremendous cash flow, some of the best assets in the world. And I say that only because that's the kind of thinking the United States needs now, because our country is in financial trouble and military trouble. We're in every kind of trouble you can have. Our country's a mess. We're going to strengthen the border. We're going to do all of the things that you and I have been talking about for a long time now, George, and it's going to be great.
Mr. Trump, thanks for joining us this morning.